mission.
Okay. All right. This is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I have the most truthful college football guy out there, my correspondent, Chris Stanley. And Chris, I'm going to lay out 3 different points. First, there are 2 college football teams I never trust who are very good programs, but I never trust in a really, really big spot. One is Michigan State, and the other is Texas A&M. So we're going to go Michigan State, Ohio State. This is why I tell you I don't trust Michigan State. They usually will come up with an upset, but they never win that game that gets them where they need to go. And this is one of those games I don't think they got a chance. They'll make it somewhat competitive, but they're not beating Ohio State. What do you think?
So all those upsets that you talk about with Michigan State, do you know what they all have in common?
Mm-hmm.
Well, go peep the scores of those games. Aren't they like 17-10, 9-6, 20-17? Like that's Michigan State's brand. Like it's classic Big Ten, ugly it up, make you look terrible, and we'll steal one very stupidly. But they never dominate those upsets. Like you never see Michigan State, throttle someone by 30 in an upset. It's just not how they're built. And going all the way back to Kirk Cousins, I'm sure you have a lot of listeners who are NFL folks.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins has been the same guy since he was at Michigan State. And Here's the secret. Every Michigan State quarterback is Kirk Cousins. So you combine their ugliness on defense with, the quarterback that you don't know who's going to show up every once in a while. Michigan State can be really good on defense and they can run the ball. It's always been their thing. But it's those 2 elements that are missing that make you not want to trust them. So you're right to not trust them.
Especially when they play Ohio State. This is with the secondary, it's a little shaky. The way Purdue lit them up, and C.J. Stroud is on the roll with those receivers, and then they're going to try to muddy it up in Columbus. That's not happening. That's why this is a bad matchup.
I don't see Ohio State's quarterback playing that bad of a game. Because he would have to have one of these games where he throws 2 interceptions, has another one tipped, has a 3rd pick. Michigan State controls the ball in the time of possession, running the ball. But Ohio State's been scoring too quickly lately. I don't see the avenue where Michigan State can, because they'll need to stop Ohio State at least 8 times. Like if you're talking about both these teams have 12 drives in this game, they're going to have to stop them 8 times. And I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. The other game is Alabama, Arkansas. Do you think Anderson is consistent enough to pull this offset? Because if it's in Arkansas, I'm like, yeah, okay, Alabama could be a little vulnerable on the road, but at home, I saw them against LSU. They didn't seem like they're putting up enough points. You got to put some points up because my guy on the other side is going to put some points up. Bryce Young.
Yeah, he is. I like KJ Jefferson. I think he's a tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way he runs the football. I don't always necessarily love the way he throws the ball. And if you're going to beat Alabama, you're going to have to throw the ball some. I know Florida came close early in the season because they were running the ball a lot, but no one's been able to do that to Alabama since that game.
Mm-hmm.
A&M did it a little bit, but they did most of their work in the play action. And the question is, can KJ Jefferson inflict damage in the play action passing game? And against Alabama's defense, I just don't know if they can, because the most comparable defense I think they faced at this point is Auburn. And Auburn pretty much locked them down.
Yeah.
And Auburn's got a good defense.
They do.
So if Auburn can do that to Arkansas, Alabama can do a lot better.
Especially at home, and they've kind of been talked about, so they're going to have a chip on their shoulder in this game. So I like Alabama. Oregon, Utah. You think the loss of C.J. Vardell finally catches up to him? Although that running back is running real well. And, Cristobal is physical. They're like a smaller physical Alabama. And I wonder if they could walk into Utah and pull the upset. And I wonder if the loss of C.J. finally kind of reveals itself in this game.
You know who else is insanely physical?
Mm-hmm.
Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Utah is the one team in the Pac-12 outside of Stanford that can match Oregon in the trenches. I mean, they don't have the skill guys to match them on the perimeter, but they have the guys on the interior to muck it up for Oregon. I think that it would not surprise me if Utah beat Oregon. I would think of the three games we've talked about so far, that's the most likely upset of the three. Utah matches up with Oregon way too well.
Okay, if that happens, I want to give you a scenario. This is a crazy one that Alabama and Cincinnati could get in, even if Alabama loses. If Alabama loses on a last-second kick to Georgia, they run the table and take care of business. They lose to Georgia by a field goal. Oregon gets knocked off. Ohio State, Michigan winner will go. So that's one spot. Georgia will have one spot. The committee might say, okay, Alabama played them tough. Georgia tougher than anybody. That leaves Cincinnati. If Baylor wins the Big 12 and they eat each other up in the Big 12, that opens up for Cincinnati because Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. So I'm not putting Notre Dame in over Cincinnati. But that could be a scenario. I mean, I don't know if Alabama's going to win all those games and play Georgia close, but if that happened, is that possible?
I will never count Alabama out of the playoffs.
No,
even with two losses, like it's really not that far fetched. And I know you
a close game too.
Yeah, I mean the scenario you laid out is probably the most realistic, and the playoff committee has shown over the past couple of weeks they're really looking for the four best teams. They're not really looking for the four most deserving teams, quote unquote, because I certainly think Cincinnati's deserving with their resume, but are they one of the four best teams in the country? I think that's a fair question to ask when you line up Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia and throw Oregon in there, throw Baylor in there. I think it's a fair question to ask. Now, interesting question. If Oregon finishes with one loss and Cincinnati finishes undefeated, I dare you to line up their two schedules and to give me a good argument that
Oregon's
schedule
getting
is tougher.
Cincinnati's not getting in. If Oregon runs the table and they beat Utah twice, Utah's ranked, Oregon's getting in because they went to Columbus and beat up Ohio State.
They did, and that's what's really propelling them. But I would encourage you and your listeners to go look at their two regular season records. And, you look at the Ohio State win for Oregon and the Notre Dame win for Cincinnati, and then look at all their other games outside of that. Their resumes are pretty even.
Yes.
I mean, the Utah game's going to play a big part in Oregon, getting that boost. But to this point, the Pac-12 has really looked bad this year.
They have.
You can't tell me that Arizona, Colorado, and Oregon State would do that much better against the likes of Houston or Tulsa or any of these tougher teams that Cincinnati faces. I don't think the resume's there for Oregon.
And I'm gonna tell you something else. Houston's win. I looked at the score. Houston's winning big right now. Houston's ranked. SMU is a good team. So that's going to make their resume a lot better with Houston coming out, and then you beat them in their conference final. The only problem is, can Cincinnati beat SMU tomorrow, who's a good passing team? There's a lot of pressure on Cincinnati. You could tell they're carrying that the last couple of weeks.
Huge. And it's not just that the committee expects Cincinnati to beat the crap out of all of the teams that they play. It's not going to be good enough to eke out a 14-point win. I think there's fair criticism to Cincinnati on, they only beat Tulsa by 8. And Tulsa's, kind of a middling 500 level team in that conference. But SMU is one that can score points on you. And, if they get into a 45, 35-point shootout, which I think is possible, it's not going to do Cincinnati any favors as far as getting into the 4.
Yeah, and you know what? If you think about it, they're playing great, but when that SEC championship game comes up and everybody's telling you that Georgia's going to beat up on this is their year, there's still going to be a lot of pressure on Georgia. And Kirby Smart has had a couple of goof ups at the wrong time, leaving that 3rd and 4th and 24. They gave up the bomb. and then the fake punt the second time they played that he didn't need to do. So he can't make that critical mistake if this game is close, because they haven't had the tight games where, this is the fourth quarter, it's 24-24. Can the quarterback, can he handle this going up against Bryce Young? And it's not the blowout, and that's what I want to see.
That's a fair question. I mean, Stetson Bennett, for everything you like about him, he's just not Bryce Young. I mean, you look at Bryce Young, like 5-star, Nider Day high school, like, built in a lab to play quarterback. Stetson Bennett is far the opposite. 3-star guy from a small high school in Georgia. If I'm mistaken, I thought he was a walk-on when he came into Georgia, and he became a scholarship player a couple of years ago. Very different there. And, if all else is equal, where Georgia has a defense that can't be penetrated and Alabama has an offense that can penetrate, and on the other side of the ball, it's two other really good units, and the equalizer is the quarterback, I'm always going to go with the better quarterback. Like, if Alabama and Georgia would have played today, like, I really do think Alabama would have a fairly good shot to beat them.
And there's no pressure on Alabama, believe it or not, for a defending champ. They're going to be prohibitive underdogs, and Saban can play that out. And I'm going to tell you something. I didn't know Bryce Young. I know for a freshman, I never seen a guy with such a great grasp of the game, the way he can process and go through his progression so easily. It's just, and he's not tall, but it doesn't matter. That's what blows me away about this guy.
You're seeing that more and more with these freshman guys, though. A lot of these quarterbacks who come up through these big systems, like, for your viewers who are unaware, Mater Dei High School is probably the most prestigious high school football program in the country. It's out in California. Bryce Young has probably been getting professional level quarterback training since he was in middle school.
Okay.
And, when you go to a school like Mater Dei, you spend a lot of time working on football. Like, you're in football classes at Mater Dei. You have time out on the field. This all plays into how he looks as a freshman. Like, he's learned how to process defenses since he was, 14, 15 years old. This is all cake to him. And he's doing it behind an insanely impressive supporting cast. Of course he's going to look good.
Oh, definitely. Now, before I let you go, do you think South Carolina got Mullen fired? Golly, I watched that game, and I no disrespect to South Carolina, I'm like, man, I don't know if he's going to. I was like, he's going to be all right, bet some bad losses and some stupid comments he made. But then the South Carolina game, I was like, oh, I don't know, man.
What they did what they should have done a long time ago, and that was fire their defensive coordinator. Yeah. That dude, I mean, God. Todd Grantham and his emotional blitzing defense needed to go. Yeah. And you saw it last week too against Samford. Now, I don't know if there's any room for him to right the ship, because everything I've ever heard about Dan Mullen is that he's a great football mind. He's just a very prickly person.
That's such a good comment. That's the perfect explanation for Dan Mullen. But you think he's going to make it through this? Because the fan base is upset with this guy, and he makes the dumb comments, and they're playing bad.
I'll tell you this: if they lose to Florida State, he's done.
Yeah,
he's done. Because Florida State, if you think Florida's bad this year, Florida State's really bad. If they lose to Florida State, he's toast. If they beat Florida State, I think they'll give him another year.
1 year. I want to give you an idea for Florida State. Deion Sanders.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I mean, look, they've trotted two dudes through there now that both have blown up in their face. I mean, I'm surprised Norvell's made it this far, to be honest.
I know.
They've looked worse under Norvell than they did the previous guy.
But he's going to get the IMG kids. He's going to get, if he goes there, he'll get those dudes out of Florida, and that would help. Recruiting.
Dude, he'll get every dad in the country who just wants to meet him.
There you go. With his charisma, oh yes. And it just seems like it makes sense.
I mean, he could. It's feasible for him to go the Dabo Sweeney route. where
Mm-hmm.
he is the charismatic ringleader of, the organization, the CEO. And if he makes good hires where he has a good coordinator on both sides of the ball and good assistants who are not only football guys, but also guys who are good recruiters, there's absolutely a template there for him to get the factory back and going.
Yes. Now I'm gonna let you go, but you know what? Next week when we do this, I'm wondering after all these games be played, if there's something crazy that's gonna happen tomorrow that we're gonna end up talking about the next time we come on.
Well, I look forward to it, whatever it is, my friend.
Thanks a lot. You were fantastic as you. Hey everybody. I want to talk about the NFL. And what's going on? The Cowboys and the Chiefs. The Cowboys are a better team, clearly a better team than the Chiefs. I will tell you why I believe the Chiefs will win. And this is the pick I have the least confidence in because Dallas is a better team. This is the thing. Dallas could. Now, the Chiefs defense has been a lot better. They're doing a little better job against the run. They're getting after the passer. Honey Badger's making plays in the back end. This is the problem. The Cowboys can run Pollard and Zeke. So if you want to play coverage, Zeke is going to get 4. Zeke is going to get 4 more. Zeke is going to get 5 more. Zeke, they'll do that all the way down the field. So, okay, now let's put 9 in the box. This is the problem. You have man for man. This is not a little problem. This is a big problem because if you decide, listen, Pollard and Zeke, they're not beating me, okay, period. That is not happening. But then you have Charvarius Ward, their best corner on CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb will tear him to shreds if he doesn't have help over the top. Ward is a good corner, aggressive corner, but they're going to have situations where they're going to have to get after Dak. They're going to have to, if the Chiefs are going to win, like I predicted, it's got to be 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s. So that means they got to stop the run. They got to win first down. And Dallas is one of the better 3rd down completion teams in the league. So is Kansas City. But there's a big but. You're going to go, when you decide 9 in the box, you're man up. So you got Ward versus CeeDee Lamb on 3rd down with no help. If you don't put Zach on the ground, CeeDee Lamb's going to get open. And he's going to I like Ward as a nice aggressive cornerback. He cannot cover CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb will tear him up. Go watch the game Sunday. Watch that. If that matchup comes to fruition and you see just those 2 players going against each other, CeeDee Lamb's going to be eating that game. So the Chiefs, I'm banking on Jones and the front 7 to get home. They have to, because they're home. If they weren't home, I'd pick Dallas all the way. They're more desperate. Dallas is a better team than the Chiefs. I don't know the stats of Tyron Smith, one of the best left tackles in all football. If he's not there, that allows the Chiefs to get off that edge quicker. Now you could get to Dak. But there's a problem. You better get to him. You better not allow Pollard and Zeke to run. And now that play action becomes deadly because now Schultz and Cooper, he's a great route runner. And then Gallup is back. And they could just overwhelm you. And on defense, Dallas could get burned because they're not statistically great. The Broncos tore them to shreds, but they're like a lot of defense in the NFL, aggressive with playmakers that get to the quarterback and playmakers that'll jump routes and get interceptions. Parsons and Diggs on the back end. Parsons getting after the quarterback and stop the run. He is really, really good. Gregory's not playing for the Cowboys, so that could hurt him. But Parson makes plays. He can get you sacks. He can stop the run. And Diggs gets burned, but Diggs is so aggressive. Diggs will get a pick 6 on you or you'll burn him. But he's going to let his presence known on the Cowboys back end. The Cowboys should win this game. I'm going with the Chiefs. The Chiefs desperately need a game. The Cowboys don't need it. If the Cowboys, other than Green Bay, if the Cowboys go to LA or they go to Arizona, half the joint is going to be Cowboy fans. They're going to win the division. The division is locked up. Now, they want to win this game just to prove how good they are, but the Chiefs are going to be more desperate. The Cowboys are a better team. So if the Cowboys win, they'll be like, hey, Ron, you picked the Chiefs. What happened with that? I'm telling you right now that Cowboys are a better team. They're a Super Bowl contender. I'm not sure if the Chiefs are a Super Bowl contender. They could be one with Mahomes. You're going to have Mahomes and you're going to have Prescott. And Prescott's going to get points up. Mahomes should get points up. Their offensive line got to protect the Chiefs. Who has the ball last? I'm banking on Mahomes. And this is the Chiefs. If the Chiefs have the ball and they need a score, or it's tied, or they need a score about 3 minutes left, they need to take their sweet time and try to milk the clock and not let Prescott get the ball back. Because if they score and you get Prescott a minute left with no timeouts, they're going down the field to score. So, and vice versa, Dallas would want to milk that clock like they did against the Chargers when they couldn't really stop the Chargers. They took about 5 minutes off the clock in the fourth quarter and made sure the Chiefs didn't get the ball back, and they kicked the game-winning field goal. And the kickers got to make kicks. Every point counts because the Chiefs, I'm going to have a hard time stopping Dallas. Dallas will have a little bit of a time stopping the Chiefs because of the fact that Chiefs are now more patient. Because of the fact that for the whole year, teams backed their safeties away, daring Mahomes to show some patience, and he hadn't, and he threw some bad picks. And the defense hadn't played well, so Mahomes getting impatient, thinking he had to do everything. But now that the Chiefs are playing a little bit, they're just, the Chiefs are playing better when they're fast and free. Mahomes might be throwing with his left hand or sidearm, and they're running jet sweeps, and Tyreek Hill's getting the ball and running and throwing up the deuces, and Kelsey's dancing and prancing across the middle. You'll know if that, because I saw that in the Chiefs, and they looked like the Chiefs last week against the Raiders, but the Raiders are not the Cowboys. The Chiefs are going to have to get their hands dirty and dig down deep like they have never done all year to beat this talented Cowboy team. All right, I want to talk about the fight, the Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford fight. This fight, I want to tell you, you got a predator in Terrence Crawford versus a pit bull in Sean Porter. And I'm going to break this down. Sean Porter is the combination of Aaron Pryor and Evander Holyfield. He's got Evander Holyfield's boxing and tenacity, but the will and the ability to just get in your cage and come after you like Aaron Hawk Pryor. And Pryor had some boxing ability, but his relentlessness would just wear you down, and just eventually you would succumb to the pressure. And what helps is he's got a hard chin. So now he can pressure you. You can hit him as hard as you want, but I'm getting right. I'm going to have my face right as close to your body as possible. I'm going to throw the body shots. I'm going to throw the head shots. Okay, you can hit me. That's nice, but I'm going to keep coming and coming and coming and coming. The only problem is he took all the punches from all the great hitters, Thurman and Spence. Errol Spence hit Porter, and every time I saw Errol Spence hit a person with that right cross, they would go down or they would stagger, and then the fight would end. He puts Porter down. Porter, his eyes are rolling in the back of his head as he's going down. He snaps back up, gets him, and says, "Come on," and he goes right after him. Like, okay, you put me down. Now I got to come after you even harder. Crawford's a different monkey. Crawford is a deadly puncher. He's the best switch hitter I've ever saw. Marvin Hagler was a good switch hitter because he was a good fighter right-handed. He was an all-time great fighter left-handed. Crawford is great left-handed. He'll get you out. He'll get you out right-handed. And there's like Hagler fought righty, like a left-hander fighting righty. Crawford fights naturally right-handed, naturally left-handed. And Crawford is a predator. He's a great boxer like Leonard. And he's a boxer. And a lot of times boxers can avoid punches. Crawford will get hit because Crawford's a predator. Crawford is seeking a knockout. So he may get hit more than your usual boxer, but he's a terrific boxer. He knows how to set up his punches. He has a terrific jab. He has a great right cross when he's left-handed. He has a terrific left hand. He has a great right hand when he's right-handed. He has a terrific left jab. He's a terrific body puncher. He does everything right from an offensive standpoint. He's solid defensively, and he's got a mean streak. He is I met him. I met both these guys, got to know their managers, but Crawford has a mean streak in that ring. And Sean Porter, I don't want to say he's got a mean streak. Sean Porter is a pit bull, Rockwilder going in there, coming after you. Terrence Crawford is going to come after you. So you can't lose on this fight. Crawford's the better boxer, so you want to favor him. That's all you're going to knock Porter out. You sure? This will be the first time Crawford, maybe. I saw Crawford get put down. They didn't count it his last fight. They turned around and just obliterated the guy after that. This will be the first really good test of him as a welterweight going against a big welterweight that's going to, because he fought Horn, but Horn was not polished like Porter. So he took Horn apart. Can he take Porter apart? Because if you're taking Porter apart, Porter's still coming. You could win all 6 rounds, and Porter is going to keep coming. And you're going to feel his will. But what about Crawford's will? Can Crawford dictate the real estate and hit Porter with enough counters? But now Porter, the last couple fights, he's learned how to move his head and not just be a pit bull coming in there. He's getting more polished. But Crawford is so sound, and Crawford is deadly accurate with his punches. That's what gives him the power. Some guys just have awe-inspiring, bone-crunching power. Crawford's power comes from his accuracy and his amazing counterpunch. And the thing about Crawford, this is something Porter has to be careful of. Crawford is a ruthless finisher. When he gets you in trouble, he wants you out that minute. But we'll see, because his will be tested, because Crawford is a truth tester. And we're going to I get to find out everything I need to know about both fighters. So after this fight and I do the commentary, I know going forward who's who.